my name is Malia.
My name is Isis. Malia and I both are sophomores at Chapel Hill High School.
We are here today with my neighbor Rosemary. She lived through the Holocaust.
Miss Rosemary, before we begin, may we have your permission to record and ask you a few questions regarding your personal experiences during the Holocaust to share with the Chapel Hill High School and its students for educational purposes?
Yes.
Please tell us a little bit about yourself. When were you born?
I was born in Berlin, April 24th, 1936. I lived there with my father and mother, but their first home was in Holland, in Amsterdam. My father Dutch, mother German.
Okay. Is it hard for you to share about this difficult time in history?
It was in the beginning, but as I got older, I accepted it not as what happened, that I accepted what happened as a truth, but I could cope with it a little better.
About how old were you when the Holocaust began?
When I really was aware of it was 1942, so I was 6 years old. Because some of my friends, even in the neighborhood, we could witness it when the trucks came in and the police and army would raid either apartment houses or the home and escort the people off. Never saw them again. Not the children, and mostly in the beginning it was always the older people, sick or invalids. And Hitler even had a program that was not aimed at any nationality or belief. He did not believe in supporting sick people or invalids that was also mentally retarded. They were shipped off and killed.
In a few words, how would you describe the Holocaust?
You know that not many people believed what was going on. Neither the Allies, even the other countries, like in this case Ireland or England, even the United States. Nobody wanted to believe that existed because news didn't get out. That's where Hitler and his secret police, so to speak, got involved. If they heard any negativity toward their beliefs, you were gone too. So there was no help where people thought, oh, something is going to happen. Somebody is going to get hold of this. People just didn't believe it. When the Allies moved into Europe and found those camps and found the people that were still alive, I mean, they were skeletons, rags on them. They couldn't believe it. They broke down. But, you know, that's the after effect. But there was no help during that war.
What were the Nazis doing to gain power and control?
I think it's, you know, you have to go back then to World War II. There was a big depression. People had lost everything. No jobs, almost like in the United States during that depression. And Hitler became an activist and promised the people that if he got into power, he would restore jobs in the country, and he may have had some good ideas when he built the Autobahn, which is like the highways here. But later on, the generals became in charge. He was no longer in charge. I think he was mentally incapacitated by all the drugs they gave him. So most of the decisions toward the end were not made by Hitler. They were made by the generals in charge. And again, you know, the greed factor, the power factor, and they had the control.
How did it affect you, your family, and your relationships?
I missed my childhood. I didn't have a childhood. I was with older people, my grandmother, my mother's mother. And her friends and her sisters, there were hardly any men unless they were old and incapacitated, because everybody else was drafted. It didn't matter. There were young boys, 13 years old, that had to serve in the army, go to the front, given guns, to, so to speak, defend the fatherland. And so I grew up more or less with women, with the nuns, and with some older uncles or friends. But as far as the childhood, nobody trusted anybody else. We all were kind of, the few friends we had clung together. I don't even remember any children's songs, or I can't relate to it, or play games, because I wasn't allowed to go out or mingle, and everybody else was the same way. They were kept inside the house, apartments, wherever. And I think it affected most of them. They became isolated, and then you can't relate to people anymore or other children.
What role did the United States or any other countries play at this time?
I think they finally decided that there was reason, I think mainly because of England, Great Britain, that news got out, and that's part of some of the people in Berlin. When we could, and we had to be very careful, there was no television, nothing except the radio, would be huddled at a certain time at night when BBC broadcasted in German. And they would give us the hope that help was coming. The bombing may get more severe, but it's for the purpose of putting a stop to it. But again, if you were caught listening to BBC, that would have been the end.
How long were the Nazis in control, and did you ever think it was going to come to an end?
No, they were in control till about February of 1945. Then we got hope that the war would be over soon, again through BBC London, and that the invasion would take place. And that's when people decided, don't go back to your homes or nothing, don't be alone, stay with a group of people, and that was in the bunkers.
At what point did you believe that something was being done to stop the Nazis?
The beginning of April, and then we counted the days till the invasion would take place and the Allies would come in. And unfortunately, the Allies didn't come in till about a month later, towards the end of May of 1945. The first people that arrived were the Russians. And that wasn't pleasant. There was more killing, raping, and looting going on till the Allies arrived. And then order slowly was restored. And people were beginning to get back to their homes at the time during which they called the Luftwaffe, the airstrikes, the air raids. We had to darken everything. There was no light allowed. Even if you had electricity, you had to black everything out so no light could be seen. And so people started living, taking all that down, but there wasn't any farming going on, no manufacturing. So that's when we start getting food stamps, rations, and stood in long lines to get our ration for the day. One slice of bread per person. Milk only to children under 3. The rest of them got powdered milk. Today, I cannot stand instant milk or anything that's a substitute. It's a bad memory. It was horrible. And then the Red Cross also helped. Switzerland helped out, and food was brought in. But all of Berlin, the surrounding sides of Berlin, the country, which was farming country, coal mines, was all occupied by the Russians. And they stopped us from getting food. That's when the Allies started flying in to, which was the airport at the time, Tempelhof in Berlin, and that's when the Americans brought in the food.
Is there anything else that you would like
Yeah,
to share?
and we had the Marshall Plan. Remember that the Americans were helping out to rebuild Berlin, which they did. And Germany, I think, was the only country that paid back the money that was borrowed from the United States. But we never, ever saw the people again that we had befriended or the children. So we assumed they all died in the concentration camps. And these are not just the Jewish people, people either of other nationalities or did not want to join the party. And they were just killed.
What advice would you have for this generation based on your experience?
I think mainly to get more involved with what people needs are. Don't pass judgment. I think it's horrible that you categorize people and put them into whatever idea you have they are. Learn. It's the same thing. I'm not, here they say Muslims are not tolerant. We don't know anything. We haven't been taught about their religion. How can we judge them? Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing with anybody else, you know. I don't care what nationality or color. We are all human beings. Treat each other with love and respect. And I'm totally against war because it's nothing but killing for somebody else to get into power. Syria is a good expression there. They have a dictator there which does not tolerate people that are not for him or what he believes in.
Ms. Rosemary, we understand the sensitivity of this discussion and we don't take this lightly. Isis and I thank you for taking time of your busy day and share your experiences during the Holocaust with us. On behalf of Chapel Hill High School and its students, we thank you.
Thank you too.
Yeah.